Good evening, everyone. Today we're going to be looking at another very important sutta called Mallika Sutta. This sutta is found in the Samyutta Nikaya 3.8, Kosala Samyutta. Most of the suttas regarding King Kosala and his events, they come under Kosala Samyutta in the Samyutta Nikaya. The topic for today is who is dearer than oneself. Um, who is dearer than oneself, according to Mallika Sutta. So everyone is dearer to oneself, and there was a story that goes around the king Kosala and his third wife called Malika. So before I begin with this particular topic and the sutta, I would like to give you some information about Queen Malika. And you know, King Kosala had three wives, three queens. The first queen was a queen from Magadha, and the second queen is from somewhere, and her name was Vasavakatya, and she was said to be the daughter of Mahanama, but it is said that she was not the biological daughter of King Mahanama Shakya. But anyways, she was the second queen to King Kosala. The third one was Malika. So Malika was the third queen to King Kosala. For those who don't know how King Kosala met Malika, I would like to tell you how they both met. There are a lot of stories about King Kosala having fights with, especially with other kings. Once he went to do a fight with another king, and then he was defeated. But on his way back, he was going through the place where Malika was living. Malika was the daughter of the chief garden of Kosala state. You know, Kosala is a state, right? It's a republican state. Magadha, Kosala, Vatsavanti, they are four major states. So Malika was the the daughter of the chief garland maker of Kosala republican state. And on the same day, in the morning, or somewhere in the morning, this Malika with her friends went to see a place. On their way, they found the Buddha, and then they offered some food to the Buddha and the other monks. And the Buddha said he predicted about something that would happen the same day evening with the monks. Buddha was sharing this prediction with the monks that the greatest merit that Malika, the little girl Malika, I won't say little girl, this Malika will be experiencing by today itself, is that she's gonna meet King Kosala, and they're gonna get married in the near future. In the same way, on his defeat, King Kosala was coming through the place of that area of Malika and her house, and they met, and King Kosala went to her house, and they started their whatever conversations, maybe dating, and then at some point King Kosala married after he went to the palace. So she's very interesting, and she's said to be, Queen Malika was said to be very wise, and we see that there are a lot of opportunities where King Kosala sought the wisdom of Queen Malika. So Malika was able to give her wisdom, insights about crucial points to King Kosala. Some of you perhaps remember, I guess the story comes in a Jataka story, in a Jataka. I guess it's called Mahasupina Jataka. So King Kosala was kind of like into women, and even after he was married to Queen Malika, he was looking for different women, and once he was into a woman, and then he slept by dreaming her, and then what happened at that night, he saw many bad dreams. So once he woke up early in the morning, and he was sharing the dreams with Queen Malika, and he was saying to Malika that he wanna do kind of a sacrifice with the Brahmins and those Hindu people. And then Queen Malika said, no, let's see the Buddha and ask from the Buddha what the predictions of what could be the forecast of these dreams. So she was kind of like instrumental in keeping the king Kosala wise and insightful. So she was really a helpful woman. And we know that she is the only person who did the unparalleled dana, that huge, the greatest dana ever to one Buddha, and she was the one who could do that with King Kosala. Nobody else could do. We call it unparalleled greatest dana to a Buddha. So this is kind of a background kind of a thing that I wanted to share with you. Now let's go into the sutta. The sutta's name is Mallika. Let me read in Pali. Tenako pana samayena raja pasenadi kosalo mallikaya deviya sadding upari pasada varagato hoti. Atako raja pasenadi kosalo mallikang deving etadavocha. Attinako te mallike ku chanyo attana piyataroti. It's a pretty interesting conversation that relate to all of us. At Savatthi, now at the time King Pasenadi of Kosala was upstairs in the still long house together with Queen Malika. It's good for a conversation when the king and the queen, stay like this. Then the king said to the queen, Malika, is there anyone more dear to you than yourself? No, great king, there isn't. But is there anyone more dear to you than yourself? So the king asked a question from Queen Malika. He was actually thinking before. Today evening, I'm gonna ask a question from Queen. Who is more dear to you than yourself? Who is more dear to you than yourself? And the king was thinking, in case he was kind of like very certain about what the Queen Malika is going to be saying, and he thought that Malika would say, it is you, it is the king that I'm more dear than anybody else. So that the king was thinking, I would say the same to her. If she would say that she loves me more, and then I'm gonna say the same to her. So this is what the king was thinking. But surprisingly, the Queen Malika was realistic and wise, and she said, no, I'm more dear to me than anybody else. And And then what the king said, because Queen Malika questioned back from him, Attanyo kochi attana piyataro. But is there anyone more dear to you than yourself, the great king? For me also, Malika, there is no one. So, Mayambiko Malike Nattanyo kochi attana piyataro. Piyataro. For me also, Malika, there is no one. So the king also said that for me also, there's nobody else. It's just me. I'm more dear to me than anybody else. The King Pasenadi of course came downstairs from the still longhouse, went to the Buddha, bowed, sat down to one side, and told him what had happened. Then, knowing the meaning of this, on that occasion, the Buddha recited this verse. King was kind of upset, but the sutta doesn't show that. But when you look at the tone of the conversation and what he expected, we can kind of think about it. But anyways, he went to see the Buddha and then and told the Buddha what happened with his queen. And Buddha recited a stanza. Sampādisa anuparigam cetasa nevajjaga piyataramatana quachi evam piyo putu atta parisang tasma na hinse parang atta kamoti. The meaning, having explored every quarter with the mind, one finds no one dearer than oneself. Likewise, for others, each holds themselves dear. So one who loves themselves would not harm others. So this concisely says the golden rule in the West. We know in the golden rule what we know by do unto others as you would have them do unto you. So it's the golden rule. Like Buddha always says that we need to take us as an example to think about what the other people would want in their life. Compassion, kindness, and all these good things. So Buddha says that one finds no one dearer than oneself. The same answer given by Queen Malika. That's why he said that she was very insightful and wise. Okay, so this is the sutta, and I wanna discuss, this particular concept of oneself is more dear to all of us than anybody else in that tiny point. A lot of people say that no, I think I like somebody, these individuals more than myself. I don't know, whether it is literal or not, but in deep down heart and mind, I guess this could be the truth, what Buddha said by one finds no one dearer than oneself. So there is a word that we have to pick in this conversation. The word is attana. Now, one of the key teachings in the Buddhist in Buddhism is anatta, not atta, but anatta. Anatta means non-self, not self. Now, a lot of people, they translate not self. So when you say not self, that means there is something else. So when you say self, it is pretty clear that self. And when you say not self, then there is something else than not self. Actually, if you really look into anatta, that means non-self. There's non-self. So there are no dualistic forms of any of the self and not self. How can we understand this anatta and atta, and which one is more important than us more important than anything else in our normal day-to-day life? So let's take a look at some of the teachings. We know in the Buddhist teachings, Buddha uses atta in most circumstances, most examples, to talk about the spiritual journey and the life as a success factor. In most of the suttas that we've been dealing in the past couple months, we've been discussing about two truths in Buddhism. Buddha always separates out the truth in two ways. The first kind of truth is samuti satcha, we call it conventional truth, while the other truth is called paramatta satcha. Now, anatta is a paramatta satcha. Paramatta satcha means ultimate truth, but atta is conventional truth. I understand atta is more important to understand anatta, but not the way how people thought atta. So there are ways where people think atta to be really bad, extreme. When they want to be very selfish, when they want to be really cynical and cruel and mean and bad to others, the forms and the nature, the behaviors that they trying to get onto, they are really, really bad. They are really harmful. But atta, self, as a form, as a success factor, as a growing factor in our life, is really important. Let me take a look at some of the aspects that I could share with you, so you could think about those dimensions, and then self criticize or self question about these aspects. In most of the suttas, Buddha says atupanayika concept. What is atupanayika concept? Now, in many suttas, including Veludvara Sutta in Anguttara Nikaya, Buddha says, now when you are keeping your precepts, it's not enough. Buddha says the methodology, the practice of keeping the precepts. Now let's say you are not taking life of anybody. You are not killing, you are not thinking. So that's the precept. We all know what it is all about. But then Buddha says we have to impact. We have to affect other beings, maybe our friend. We might not be able to do it with everybody, but maybe the people that we can share our idea, our friends, our relatives, whom you think you can really share your ideas. You need to, the second step in that methodology is that you need to influence them that this is really good. So please, if you are trying to think, if you are trying to be thoughtful about ill will or killing, taking life of anybody, including yourself, don't do that. So that's the second way of practicing a precept. So the first thing is, of course, really clear to all of us. That means we are not executing that precept, the bad side. Second is we're trying to influence our friends, relatives who are near to us. Third is we need to always talk about the importance, the benefits of keeping the precept. So in the Veludvara Sutta Anguttara Nikaya, Buddha was sharing with the beings that just keeping your precept is not enough. So in the same sutta, Buddha says we need to use oneself as an example, the best example to keep the precept. Because if you put yourself into the victim of somebody's killing, you would never think about doing that. You would never think about executing that bad thing. What if I were that victim, and I would never like to get experience, right? So like the word called atta and attupanayika pariyaya means that you put yourself into the victim part. So you put yourself into the being that is being harassed, assaulted, whatever the bad situation that kind of that person is experiencing. So you will never do that. So in order to talk about this atupanayika concept, we have to think about this word called atta, because upama is yourself. I'm sorry, upama is you are taking you as an example. So atta is you, oneself. So Buddha said you can use atta for this good aspect of keeping your precept. So atta is not bad in that aspect. That's why I'm saying that you can use oneself as an example to think about the greater good that you could do to other beings. That's one aspect. Even 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 oneself is the person who can understand the suffering and dissatisfaction of the samsara. Right now we all talk about samsara is this cycle of becoming, is really suffering. It is so much pain, and if you don't bring that understanding feeling towards yourself, oneself, how I mean how would you understand that particular scenario about the sansaric suffering, sansaric dissatisfaction? It is only by taking that suffering, pain into yourself, you can understand how bad, how excruciating, how painful is that. So I think even to understand the sansaric suffering, you need oneself. So that's why I see there is a benefit of thinking atta in a different way, not in that selfish, cynical way of thinking, of taking atta, oneself. So the first one is taking you as an example about the beings who are suffering. Then you never do that bad thing or whatever the bad stuff, speech, based on the speech, body, and the mind. The second thing is that if you take the example, if you take the scenario of thinking about sansaric suffering or the pain in the sansara, this rebirth concept, you need yourself to think about, because you are if you don't work out about meditation or whatever other practices, then you are the person who is going to be suffering. You are the person who is going to be painful in the next lives, even in this life too, right? Not even to understand sansaric suffering, but also to practice sila, virtue, samadhi, concentration, and prajna, panya, wisdom. You need yourself. You need atta. Put your oneself into those practices. So of course there are benefits of thinking atta in a different way, especially to get rid of the samsara, practice sila, samadhi, prajna, the three disciplines, and to do greater good to other beings. Also, what about self-love? Now, self-love is a big topic in today's world. Now, a lot of people, they're trying to love other people, but they end up being very frustrated. They end up saying that the other people they drain my energy or whatever. That's why Buddha says we have to have this self-love towards us before we spreading our loving kindness or our secular love to somebody else. In order to practice self-love, Buddha said to us, 4 kinds of things, 5 kinds of things, 5 steps, or 5 things. The first one is be kind to yourself. We need to be kind to us. Now, we're trying to be kind to other people without being kind to us. It's pretty unpractical. We need to be kind to us. We need kindness more than others in the first place, because the more you kind to yourself, the more you can be kind to other people, right? Second, choose love, not hate, hatred, not conflict. We know that it's very easy to be angry with yourself or with other people, right? But it's very difficult to be in love with this whole universal love concept, or it's pretty difficult to be friendly with other people. Not even that. It's more difficult to stay consistent with your friendliness, your love with other people, other beings. That's why Buddha says, choose love, not hatred or hate. Number 3, stop comparing. Don't compare yourself to others, because you never know. You are a unique, distinguished being. Your uniqueness can be understood by other people at some point. You have to invest in yourself. You have to find out in which way I am unique. You have to further investigate about your uniqueness. So that's why you don't need to compare you with other beings. Other beings are other beings. If you think there is something really interesting, good, you can think about it, but don't try to keep comparing. Okay, I want to compare myself with other people. I want to look at myself from other beings, which is not necessary all the time. You can take a look at what other people are doing and their success and their failures too, but don't always keep a habit of comparing you to other people, which is pretty bad, where you destroy your self-love practice. Use affirmations. We need affirmations. We need positive thoughts. Everything should be positive. There is a saying that the last thing that you engage just before you sleep and the first thing you do in the morning, they affect everybody's day, right? So before you sleep and right after you wake up, you have to be very careful what you are talking, what you are thinking, what you are looking at. In today's world, you know that whenever you wake up early in the morning, you look for the news, and news is pretty bad. Everything bad, not affirmations, right? And when you just before you're gonna sleep and everything, you have to be very careful in processing what you see, what you understand, what you talk, what you think, what you do. So all the time use affirmations. Stay positive. Try to see the positivity of anything. Sometimes it could be difficult, but try to look at the brighter side of even the bad thing. Look at the brighter side of everything. That's the way that how you can stay positive or use affirmations. Number 5 is to meditate. We need meditations. If you don't meditate, at least breath meditation could be a hard time for you to manage your emotions and other things, right? So be kind to yourself, choose love, stop comparing, use affirmation or stay positive, and meditate regularly. So these are the 5 steps to spread, cultivate self-love. Now, when you talk about self-love, we use the word called attana. That's the reason why I pick attana. So attana is also important in the context of self-love. Because Buddha said in one sutta, you yourself, as much as anybody in the entire universe, deserve your love and affection. You yourself, as much as anybody in the entire universe, deserve your love and affection. So that means we all need that affection, love to us, so that we understand how much we need to spread that particular love, universal love, to other beings. Those of them who don't practice self-love in this attha concept, they will never love other people. It's pretty difficult for them. Okay. What about the other things? Even as someone who wants to practice paramita, perfections, who wants not to practice greed, hatred, delusion, ignorance, you need to think about oneself. You need to think about this oneself. Now the problem comes up at this point. What's that point where the problem comes at? Anatta. When people choose to understand anatta, they usually get stuck. I'm gonna clear out some of the confusions that a lot of people are struggling with. Okay, how do we need to take this anatta concept? Actually, Buddha said there's no self, there's not self too, the dual forms of this self thing. But what we understand is that this, whatever the thing that we call karma, that we are karmas, the karmas are being processed every moment, every second, so that you can say there is this thing exists, because it's been always changed and processed. That's why we are in a hard time to pick self from this point, and that point. But then why Buddha said, because on one hand you have to practice paramita, you have to practice good things to attain nibbana or sotapanna. On the other hand, Buddha said there's non-self. Buddha said this anatta concept on the basis of spiritual path. So when someone keeps practicing their spiritual path, one needs to understand this oneself is also an entity which does not exist. Other than that, Buddha didn't say that there is no oneself, because in Dhammapada we see a lot of verses about stanzas about oneself, to take care of oneself, so that you practice your path to nibbana, so that you understand the importance of practice. Let me read a couple stanzas about the importance of oneself from Dhammapada, so that you may understand the importance of oneself, but not in that cynical, so much personal and selfish way. Attanang che piyang janya rakheyanang surakkita tinna manya tarang yamang patijaggeya pandito. The meaning, if one knew oneself to be precious, one would guard oneself with care. If one knew oneself to be precious, so if one understands the importance of oneself, one would guard oneself with care. The sage or the wise person will watch over herself, himself in any part of the life. Now, this stanza says that we have 3 stages of life. Early time as a teenager or a young person, and then the middle life, and the final phase of our life. So Buddha says, if anybody thinks that they lost the practice in any of the times, then they can practice in other stage of their life. Let's say if they couldn't practice Dhamma when they were young, they could do it in the middle time of their middle stage of their life. If they couldn't do the practice in neither times, early time and the middle time, they could do in the old age. But the problem is, if someone could not do the practice of Dhamma in 3 of the stages, that would be a disaster, right? So, but Buddha says one has to understand the preciousness of oneself in any of these stages of life, because preciousness of oneself is very important to understand the spiritual path, because you are trying to get rid of you from samsara, right? So you need yourself, you need oneself, otherwise you can get away from this samsara. Another stanza, attahi attano natu kohi natu parusya attanava sudantena nathang labhati dullabham. The meaning, oneself indeed is one's own protector. Oneself indeed is one's own protector. Now, take for example, if you don't understand your protector, if you can take your mind and how you think about defilements and your good practices, you have this protector. If you have satipatthana, you are protecting yourself from falling into hells and bad places, right? It is by believing that you can attain sotapanna, you can practice the good things in your life, so that you are said to be the protector in your sansaric life. Okay? And then it says, what other protector could there be? So there can be other protectors. With self-control, one gains a protector hard to obtain. So that means we are able to self-protect us. That means oneself is important, right? So there is no argument about believing in oneself. One more stanza to substantiate about the importance of oneself in this unique, different perspective. This is really interesting, really, really interesting. Atta dattang parattena bahunapina hapai. Atta datta mabhinyaya sadatta pasutosya. The last stanza of the oneself chapter in Dhammapada. Do not give up your own welfare. I know there are a lot of people, they give up their welfare for other people. Buddha said no. You have to take care of you first and then the other people. It doesn't mean you only overwork for yourself and then just help other people a little. You have to balance, but first you have to protect yourself. For the sake of others' welfare, however great, clearly know your own welfare and be intent on the highest good. So that means own welfare is a big thing. Now, for example, even the bodhisattvas, even the Gautama Buddha, right? Buddha Gautama, being a bodhisattva, he was working on his journey. At the time he met the Buddha Dipankara, if he thought he would like to be an arahant, he could have done it. He could have attained his arahantship, arahanthood. But he didn't want it. But he thought, I want to be the Buddha to help many millions, billions of beings in the future. So he gave up his thing, but he knew his aim is to approach more people in a different way, right? If he wanted to do what other beings did, he could have just ended up in being an arahant. But he knew what he wanted, and then he took an initiative to go in many more other lives, because he knew he would be the Buddha. Okay, so now you understand the reason why we've been talking the importance of oneself is dear to oneself is the most important in a specific unique concept. It is to understand you and to spiritually grow in your spiritual path in becoming a sotapanna. That's the main reason. It doesn't mean that you put oneself first simply because you are selfish, you are cynical, you want to do whatever you think, whatever you want to do, whatever you want to say. It's not that way. It's not like that. The main thing why oneself is dear to all of us is it is only by concerning about oneself we can attain our spiritual stages. But it doesn't mean that we don't care other people, we don't listen to other people. We must listen to others, but we put ourselves first before we help others. But the most important thing, keep this in mind, you need to stay balanced. Just because I'm telling based on the sutta, Mallika Sutta, that oneself should be put first, it doesn't mean that you are putting oneself only as the main reason all the time. You have to put oneself first. At the same time, you help other beings out. So you have to keep the balance all the time, consistently. Okay, don't give up the consistency of helping other people too. One more thing, just before I'm gonna close, wrap this up. I don't know how many of you know what happened to Queen Mallika. It's kind of an off story. Queen Mallika died. She didn't become a sotapanna anyways. And you know what happened just before she died? And she was remorseful, regretful about something she did just before she passed away, sometimes back. And it is said that unfortunately she had a sexual encounter with a dog, and she was really remorseful about that encounter, and then she was reborn in the hell called Avicii, which is pretty bad. But she was there only for a week, and then she was reborn in uh, Tavatinsa Uttosita. That's why I'm telling everybody of you who are listening out there, watching out there, this Dhamma talk, even how much good things you've been doing in your life, if you do a small bad thing, this small bad thing will likely the thing that will come to you just before you die. If you don't practice satipatthana, Buddha said we have to practice mindfulness all the time to stay consistent about our sati. We had, if you don't attain sotapanna in this life, we have to practice satipatthana all the time, so that the remorse, objects, scenes, events, scenarios will not come to you, because you are really concerned about your mindfulness. Okay, so please understand, oneself is dear to all of us, not in the concept of being cynical to other people and to us, being selfish to us, not from that perspective, but to grow us spiritually, to grow us as good beings for greater good, and to help out other beings. That's the main thing, because if we don't start from us, kindness, love, and whatever good things, and even the spiritual path, we will never become good beings. That's why we had to take this atta as a spiritually growing factor. Okay, I hope you understood today's topic. So oneself is dear, especially from the point of success factor, growing factor with the Dhamma, as well as a person. But it doesn't mean we are not doing anything bad to other people. We need to take care of other people, but putting us first and keeping the balance. Okay, let's share all the good karmas with the departed relatives and the deities. May all the good karmas that we've been accumulating so far be shared by all the departed relatives who passed away in the name of all of us, especially all the beings who have passed so far from this situation. May they receive all these good karmas. May they be happy and peaceful. May they attain the supreme bliss of Nibbana. Sadhu, sadhu, sadhu. Idam me ñāti nang hotu sukhita huntu ñāteyo. Idam me ñāti nang hotu sukhita huntu ñāteyo. Idam me ñāti nang hotu sukhita huntu ñāteyo. Also, we need to share all the good karmas with the devas, brahmas, and nagas. May all the devas, brahmas, and nagas sharing all these good karmas. May they bless all the beings in the universe, especially in this difficult time. A lot of people are dealing with anxiety, depression, stress, this doubtful, uncertain, mentalities, right? So may the deities, devas, brahmas, and nagas sharing all these good karmas, and may they be happy, well and happy. At the same time, may they bless all of us for good health, longevity, quality life, and all these strength and capabilities to deal with the situation. May they be happy and peaceful. May they also attain the supreme bliss of Nibbana. Sadhu, sadhu, sadhu. Ittavata cha ammehi sambatan punya sampadang. Sabbe deva anumodantu, sabbe bhuta anumodantu, sabbe satta anumodantu, sambasang patti siddhya. Akasattha cha bummattha deva naga mahindika. Punyantang anumoditva chirang rakhantu lukasasanang. Chirang rakhantu desanang, chirang rakhantu mang paranti. Finally, let's make a great wish. May all the good karmas we've been accumulating so far help all of us to attain the supreme bliss of Nibbana. Sadhu, sadhu, sadhu. One more thing just before I'm going to close the Dhamma talk, Dhamma discussion. If you really want to watch the previous sutta discussions, and you can see the link in the description. www.youtube.com/authentic Buddhism. You can go watch and you can subscribe to the channel so you will not miss any of these Sutta discussion topics and other miscellaneous talks I have done. Okay, I'm gonna bless you with a couple more stanzas. Abhivadan Siris Nichang Vadha Pachayino Chattaru Dhamma Vadhanti Ayuvanno Sukhang Balang Ayuraruki Sampatti Sagga Sampatti Mevache Atu Nibbana Sampatti Iminati Samichatu. Sadhu, sadhu, sadhu. Okay, have a good night. Take care, stay safe.